But the wider issues of why that unrest was happening was clearly, in my view, because people were annoyed about immigration. They'd been ignored about immigration, having voted to lower it for like 20 years and constantly being ignored by successive governments. That was all just bubbling under the surface. And I think an act like that, okay, the guy was a Welsh choir boy, allegedly, but his parents were refugees that we welcomed into the country. And then they raised the son that went on to go and do these acts. And that all ties into why people were angry and upset. And when people started coming out across the country protesting, and my patch was the Northeast, one of the biggest areas where there were protests that turned into quite bad riots was Sunderland. So there was a lot for us to cover at the time. And I was told that if the protests stay peaceful, that they're not newsworthy and that we won't cover them, which, okay, they have a policy of that because there are loads of protests that happen all the time that are small protests.
Yeah, sure.
You're not going to cover them all. That would be stupid. But in my opinion, if there are loads of pockets of protests happening around the country at the same time, fair enough, each individual one might be small, but they're all connected because they're all related to this one incident that's happened and they're peaceful. That to me is incredibly newsworthy because it's showing that there are loads of people all around the country that are so annoyed with the government, spurred on by this horrific act that's just happened, and they're that annoyed, they're getting out and they're going out to the streets independently of each other, all spontaneously around the country. And to me, that is massively newsworthy, even if they're peaceful. But I got an email saying that if the Sunderland protests stay peaceful, we're not going to cover them. And I didn't like that. And I really didn't like that at all. And then eventually they did turn more violent, and there were some